NBA Fast Break KD edition. Kevin Durant has 3 preferred destinations according to a weekend report from Shams: Miami, San Antonio, and Houston. We'll go through each one with potential trades, starting with the Rockets, who were the 2 seed last year, even though no one talks about it. Nick, can you give us what this trade would look like? And then, Brew, you tell me if you like the fit.
So I think, this is just, I'm going to give you guys a rough estimate of what I think the trades would be. And then I think our discussion is going to be less about, is that enough in the trade or whatever, but KD's fit there.
Right.
And all of these trades work, even given aprons and salary and whatever. So here's the KD to Houston trade. It's pretty straightforward. It's Kevin Durant for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and Phoenix gets their own first-rounder in 2027 back. I know that looks weird. Like Houston currently has the Suns pick. They get it back. Brew, this is what I will say. And I think some people are going to assume Kevin Durant is going to go for much, much more than he is going to go for. I think a 37-year-old with I think it's fair to say, questionable injury history. Yes. With 1 year left on his deal, is not, oddly, worth nearly as much as Desmond Bane. He's just not.
That's true. Yeah.
This is the one, the only team on the list that I think could win the title. And I think I might could win the title, would be one of the legitimate title favorites with Durant. I think a Houston team of a starting lineup of Van Vliet, Amin Thompson, Durant, Jabari Smith, Şengün, and then a bench of Eason. I assume Shepard's going to be in the rotation. His top 5 pick, last year didn't play as a rookie. Steven Adams, who they re-signed, Cam Whitmore, and they have the 10th pick. That's a deep team. You wouldn't need that much from KD during the regular season. And Jalen Green, who had one good game his last month of basketball, with KD in his place taking those shots. I love that fit. That's the one I think is the best idea.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I think if he went to Houston, they certainly would have a chance to win the championship. I don't know if I picked them as the favorite in the West, but they certainly have a shot. There's no question about it. Here's the thing, and you mentioned Durant's injury. We know he'll be 37 soon. He's only played 65 or more games once in the last 5 seasons. One time. So that's how injury prone he is. If I'm Houston, and I've talked to people around the league that say Milwaukee or Giannis is going to give Milwaukee a chance. Okay. Like he's trying to get them to better the team. Maybe something happens around the trade deadline if they're not playing well. If I'm Houston, I'm waiting for Giannis. I'm waiting for Giannis. And I think that would, you get Durant, you've improved. There's no doubt. But with Giannis's age and Durant's age, I am waiting for him. And Şengün, Reed, Shepard, Torrey Evans, Eason, and some draft picks. I mean, that's a good offer for Milwaukee. So if I'm Houston, I'm holding off on it and waiting to see if I can get Giannis.
Just on the heels of Desmond Bane going for 4 unprotected picks, it feels like 1 pick is light.
Well, so here's the thing on that. The Bane thing is unique because I think one of those picks was to get you to take KCP because that's an underwater contract. Mm-hmm. And the other one is that it depends on how you feel about Jalen Green. Jalen Green, some people look at as, if Jalen Green were just by himself, would he be worth 2 firsts? If you really like him, certainly. He's a former top 5 pick.
That's a nice haul for Phoenix.
Yeah, and
the pick, and then Jalen Green, who can get you.
And I think Phoenix would like to get its own pick back, oddly.
Yeah,
for real.
Next up, San Antonio. Wemby has spent part of the summer training with the Shaolin monks. So maybe the 36-year-old Durant will be the next to enter the 36 chambers for the Spurs.
Well done.
Well, 36.
Yeah.
What would this have to look like?
All right, so again, and so maybe you're not going to... I'm also operating under the assumption that a Matt Ishbia-run team who recently gave a press release that said, I've cracked the numbers, and the thing this Phoenix Suns team needs is more Matt Ishbia involvement, is going to want players over picks.
Yeah.
So, because they want to compete now. That's why they're not trading Booker. So here's what I came up with for the Spurs in a trade for Kevin Durant. Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, and I think a pretty valuable pick, an unprotected Atlanta pick in 2 years. You know what I mean? And that's for Kevin Durant. Brew, here's my question on this, because you'd still have Castle, they have the number 2 pick, Wemby, De'Aaron Fox. I would only do this if I'm San Antonio. If I feel like we actually think Wemby is going to get a lot real MVP votes next year. It only makes sense to me if they think Wemby already is like a bona fide top 10 player and can be the best player on a champion, and our window is right now.
Yeah, and that's the problem with these first two, at least, Houston and San Antonio, is that obviously they're on a different timetable than Kevin Durant. Like, we got to win it now.
Right now.
San Antonio and Houston are building over the next few years.
It's weird that these were on his wish list, though.
Yeah,
I think he
doesn't want to win.
Well, look, honestly, you do want to look at it like, what is your motivation? Miami is, and we'll get to them, they're not going to win. Like, not big. These two teams are young. Certainly they could win. But Minnesota, where he doesn't want to go, apparently, they could win too. But San Antonio, I'm with you, Nick. And that's the problem with the Wemby injury, or one of the problems, is that you don't
get to see.
Yeah, like, will next year be really what this year was?
Yes.
So that's the question. But I'm with you. If you can get him for that, then you're contenders right away. And my whole take on San Antonio trading for him, again, you could throw in the Giannis thing, like, look, wait to try to get Giannis. But if I don't want to give up too much for him,
I agree.
That's my thing. If I don't have to give up too much, sure, I'll take Kevin Durant. He could be somewhat of a mentor to Wemby. So, yeah.
I think maybe Phoenix fans are watching this and like, you've got to be kidding me. That's all we're getting. I don't think Durant is going to have.
No.
I think people are going to be surprised by the trade market, but it's because he's 37. It's because of the injuries. It's because of the contract. And so
I think the Houston deal's better.
Yeah,
right, next up, Miami Heat finished 8 games under 500, but do have a history of winning. And lucky for Tyler Hero, the franchise didn't even exist prior to 1988.
Well done.
What would a Durant to Miami trade look like?
This is the one we probably can spend the least time on, because I think Brew and I both hate the idea of it. I hate the idea of Kevin Durant saying, send me to Miami. I get that he likes warm weather. I understand the Heat have a great coach and a great culture. You can't win a championship. No. And even though I constructed a trade, show it, where they keep Hero and Bam, I still don't think they can win the championship. Wiggins, Duncan Robinson, and they have to include 2 picks because they're not giving away a player, a young player like Jalen Green or Devin Vassell. 20th pick this year, and what could be a pretty damn valuable Miami unprotected 2029 pick.
I mean, look, if you can get him for that, then I'd do it if I'm Miami. Look, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Kevin Durant in the East.
I still don't think it's enough.
I don't think it's enough to win the championship. It's probably not enough to win the East, but you're in the hunt. You're in the hunt.
You're relevant.
If I'm Miami, I do that. I don't think, if I'm Phoenix, there's no way, because I'm keeping Devin Booker. I'm trying to win. There's no way I'm doing this without getting Bam or Tyler Hero.
Right, and that's the
Bam
problem.
I know. How are you getting Bam?
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you want Kevin Durant, I want Bam Adebayo to team with Devin Booker.
Which is why, if I'm Miami, I'm not interested in trading for Kevin Durant if I have to give up Bam.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which
so that's why the Miami one doesn't make sense.
All right, finally, the team that we like, but I guess KD does not. Sham saying KD has no interest in the Wolves.
He doesn't like the cold, bro.
They're playing inside.
And like I said, look, and you have a trade proposal.
Yeah.
I'll quickly, Durant picked Brooklyn. And I look, I think that team could have really been good had they been healthy and Kyrie played through the vaccination and all that. But he picked Phoenix, which is gone. That's been a disaster. So open yourself up to going somewhere that, you're not looking at.
This is the hardest one to construct because both teams have major restrictions because of aprons. And by the way, I'm going to take Zach Lowe's lead. You might like this. Zach Lowe has decided he's not calling it the second apron anymore. He's calling it a hard cap. And I like that because that's essentially what it's turned into. So this is what the trade would look like, I think. You got to trade Rudy.
What?
And Dante and Dillingham. Now, no picks.
Oh, well, I'm not doing that if I'm the Wolves.
If
You're the Wolves?
Yeah, I'm not trading Rudy.
Well, there is no Durant trade to the Wolves that doesn't involve Rudy because of the salary.
It's such a strict. They have to be so.
They
close
have to.
and
Right.
I like Rudy and Dante.
Me too. This is why I don't like the Timberwolves.
Okay.
No, the team is built on defense. Did you see what Rudy did against the?
Well, you still look, and I get it. Nas Reed would presumably become your starting center.
Sure. You'd have to re-sign him, and you'd have to
offensively.
re-sign Julius Randle as well, because both those guys are free
Yeah.
agents. So you got to re-sign those guys, trade these guys.
But you're.
I don't know.
Look, I hear you on Rudy, but I'm doing that if I'm the T-Wolves.
Really?
Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Kevin Durant. I still got Jaden McDaniels. I need more, but he's a great defender. We got some other people that can play defense and stuff. So, and maybe I go get some type of backup center or whatever, but I like that. And I think Durant, I don't know if they're close as it is. And Rudy is such a negative
guy.
offensively.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times is he right there at the rim and just bobbles the ball
together
loses it, whatever?
defensively? I don't know what this team really looks like without Rudy. I'm sure we could do the on-off plus minus, but I don't think it's going to be that good.
So listen, he certainly in the regular season, he is one of the 4 or 5 most impactful defensive players in the league. Postseason, kind of year after year, at some point, the rubber has met the road on his lack of threat offensively and how it can hurt them.
Yeah.
I personally, Brew, like Houston the most. I think Minnesota, I think that's a lot to give up for Kevin Durant. And my worry for Minnesota would be this. Does it not work out? And in 3 years, you're like, man, we are hamstrung by these moves we made when Anthony Edwards was 22 and 23. And now when he's actually in his prime at 27, we don't have all the assets we had. I mean, Dillingham was a top 10 pick. Like you know what I mean? They had guys that they had invested
He also
in.
doesn't want to be there. So I don't know the last time someone's like, I'm not interested in going there, and then
He
they
didn't want
end
to
up.
go to Golden State. And I don't mean when he originally went there, but this year. He didn't want to go to Golden State.
Yeah.
Maybe they could have competed for a championship.
Yeah.
So you
But it's not
also
like
got to sit
you're
down.
going to Golden State
what
anyways.
is the priority?
I don't know.
That's what you got
said
to sit
to master
down.
the game.
Any team that's interested in Durant, I got to sit down with him. What is your priority? Because Miami doesn't look like you're prioritizing winning. And you didn't want to go to Golden State where you'd have, that's a little different because he had been there, was ready to move on and all that. But is your priority winning a championship? And maybe it's not. He's got 2. He's a Hall of Famer. He's all-time great. Maybe that's not the priority.
Yeah, might not.
But I got to find out before I trade for him.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.